Welcome back, everyone. Next, we have ASP Isotopes, Inc. It trades on the NASDAQ under the symbol ASPI and is an advanced materials company dedicated to developing technology and processes to produce isotopes in multiple industries. Please welcome Parker Scott, the VP of Business Development and Finance. Hey, Parker, how you doing today?
Well, thanks for having me.
Great. The floor is yours. Call me back when you're ready for questions.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. Apologize for the delay. We're having some technical difficulties, but with that being said, we can jump right into the presentation. These are forward-looking statements that everyone, I'm sure, is very familiar with. And with that, let's get moving. So a quick background on ASP Isotopes. We think that we're at a very interesting inflection point right now for potential investors into our story, and that's largely for three reasons. One, we've got a proven proprietary technology that we've been commercializing for the past 2 years and has deep roots in the South African government's nuclear enrichment program. And we believe that we're going to be bringing that technology to commercial market within the next 6 months. We've got 2 plants down here in South Africa. We've commissioned one, we'll be commissioning the other in the not too distant future, and we're going to be able to be performing on revenue contracts at the beginning of the fiscal next year. So we're excited to be able to validate our technology for our investor base in the not too distant future. Secondly, when we look further at our markets that we're trying to service, there are very large geopolitical tailwinds that are going to be moving in our favor for us. I can explain a little bit about that more later down the line. And then 3, we're currently sitting in one of the strongest forms ever in terms of our operational and balance sheet performance. We recently completed a financing last month, closing in on an oversubscribed offering of $9.1 million. And as a result, our balance sheet has never been stronger. Looking a little bit at our company history, what I would like to highlight is things that's kind of occurred within the past 6 months. We've been moving at warp speed to supply and secure a $9 million supply contract for a US-based customer for highly enriched isotope. We've been able to enter into 2 MOUs with small modular reactor companies based also in the United States. And we were able to close that funding round that I referenced earlier. So I think by looking ahead on the horizon, we've got a lot of exciting news coming out in the not too distant future that can definitely provide some early and often returns for investors. Now, looking a little bit at what we do, I think it's a little bit important to understand what specifically is an isotope. Now, an isotope is a variant of an element that is naturally abundant on our Earth. And these isotopes are jumbled up together, much kind of like a bowl of M&M candies. What we believe we can do is we can leverage our technology to separate out that bowl of M&M candies to allow for the sale of that isotope at an enriched level at commercial scale. We're able to do that by utilizing something called the ASP technology. Now, the ASP technology is cost effective when compared to its peer group. It's modular, it has a scalable design profile, and it's environmentally friendly. We think that those 3 factors combined will provide us an edge in the market and allow us to penetrate very quickly where we have market demand. Now, thinking a little bit more on our technology, I wanted to highlight the benefits of utilizing a stationary wall centrifuge. Our competitors currently utilize traditional centrifugation processes to do what we do. And as a result, it is much more expensive and it is a lot larger scale to produce a smaller amount of commercial product. By utilizing our technology, we're going to be able to have flexible capacity deployment when we're thinking about undertaking new isotope projects. And we think that as a result of that, we're going to be able to be really nimble in the way that the demands of the market are going to be continuously shifting. And we think we're going to be able to adapt to that and produce value for our shareholders with limited amount of capital deployment. Thinking about the milestones in the next 6 months, if you can kind of look on the right-hand side, we've got operational milestones. On the left-hand side, we've got market milestones. We aim to start in our commercial production of our isotopes at our enrichment facilities in South Africa in the early part of 2024. And we're also aiming to start construction on an enrichment facility outside of South Africa towards the second half of 24. And we think that by obviously being able to perform on some of the contracts, which I'll talk about a little bit later, it'll help to validate our technology. Now, when I think about the end markets that we could potentially penetrate utilizing our platform tech, we really kind of have two big subgroupings that we like to talk about. The first is nuclear medicine, and the second is green nuclear energy. Now, in regards to nuclear medicine, there are a lot of downstream isotopes that we could potentially enrich, ranging from market applicability for carbon dating, ranging all the way over to oncology treatment and PET and SPECT imaging. The two markets that we're going to hone in a little bit more on today, first is carbon-14, and carbon-14 is used as a radioisotope tracer for radio labeling and drug development in the pharma industry. And this specific plant on the right-hand side is our pilot plant, and this plant is going to be specifically enriching carbon-14 to fulfill on a $2.5 million take-or-pay contract, which is expected to go live early next year. The second end market that I would want to touch on is the molybdenum-100 and zinc-68 market. Now, these markets are a lot larger in size. The molybdenum-100 market is as high as $4.1 billion in terms of downstream use of that isotope, specifically for PET and SPECT imaging. And this is where we think that our edge lies. The way that the current supply chain for molybdenum-99, the way that it's set up is it currently comes off as a byproduct of nuclear fission at reactors all around the world. And the only issue with this isotope is it halves in life every 66 hours. What we think that we're going to be able to do with the ASP process is we're going to be able to produce molybdenum-100 at commercial scale, which has never been done before. And our large benefit to that is molybdenum-100 is a stable isotope when compared to molybdenum-99. We think that due to the lack of margin slippage in terms of the raw product, it's going to provide a massive value proposition for people that are utilizing these isotopes downstream to handle those procedures. Another factor that's very beneficial for us as we think about this specific end market is there are eight of the nine major reactors within the world are going to be shuttering within the next 15 years due to planned retirement of these nuclear reactors. We think that the downtime of these nuclear reactors paired with our stable isotope solution for this end market is going to produce a really big opportunity that we think we're going to be able to penetrate in the short to near term. Now, when we think about other end markets, what we would definitely like to highlight in the time allotted today is our nuclear medicine side of the fence, as well as our nuclear green energy. The one end market that I'll very briefly touch on is quantum computing. In order to enact and produce the quantum computers of the future, they need to utilize super low latency chips, and basically called qubits, in order to do what they do. You need to put enriched silicon-28 onto those chips in order to decrease the latency to allow for the quantum computational capability to happen. We think that we're going to be able to utilize our technology to enrich silicon-28 at scale, and we anticipate that end market, while not necessarily the large or existent or currently in R&D phase right now, we think that that end market is really going to balloon in the coming future. Now, we have a lot of questions on this as we talk about our geopolitical profile. So we like to just add a slide in here right before we kind of transition to our other end market, and that's talking about Iceland. And what I mean by that is we anticipate in the next 12 to 24 months to erect a enrichment facility in Iceland. The reason we're going there largely is to diversify away the geopolitical risk associated with South Africa, as well as get access to clean, cheap energy that we can deploy at scale to service some of the contracts that we're thinking about fulfilling in the not too distant future. Now that I've spoken about about nuclear medicine, I would like to talk about Quantum Leap Energy, which is our 100% owned Holdco subsidiary that's specifically focused on green nuclear energy. And for those new to the story of nuclear energy, a little bit of background around that. Now, in order for the world to reach net zero emission by 2050, the world is going to have to increase their global electricity generation by 2.5 times. But at the same time, they're going to have to decrease their carbon emissions by 100%. In order to do that, as a result, nuclear energy has definitely come back into the spotlight in terms of capability to potentially fill that gap, to produce the energy we need for the future without producing the CO2 and the downsides associated with legacy reactors in coal-fired plants. But in order to do that, what people are going to use is what's called an SMR, or a small modular reactor. The small modular reactor is currently being worked on and built by companies like TerraPower, X-Energy, Rolls-Royce, SMR, Oklo, and all of these partners are focused on producing SMRs at scale to be rapidly deployable all over the world. The only issue with the small modular reactor is it utilizes a fuel called HALEU. And HALEU is high assay, low enriched uranium. And all of the old legacy tech reactors that have been used in the past 40 to 60 years are utilizing low enriched uranium. What we need to produce is HALEU, which is uranium enriched at around ranging from 15 to 19.75%. And in order to do that, there's currently no Western supplier of HALEU. We think that we're going to utilize an alternative tech to ASP called quantum enrichment in order to do that. The way that quantum enrichment works, without getting too far into the weeds, is it basically allows for higher selectivity of the isotopes as you're passing it through the laser process in order to enrich the isotope at a faster and more cost-effective scale when compared to the ASP technology. If you look at the lower right-hand side here of this comparative graph of other competitors that are attempting to do this, the one thing that I would direct your attention to is the selectivity rate. The selectivity rate basically discerns how fast and how difficult it is to enrich a certain isotope. So when we look at our sensitivity, our alpha is higher than 50% when compared to other legacy forms of technology. We think that we're going to have a serious technological edge when we bring this to market. And if you think about the geopolitical tailwinds kind of impacting the uranium market, all you have to do is look at the spot price of uranium, and it's been trading at or near 10-year highs in the past 6 to 12 months. We think that this pressure, largely coming from Russia, is going to set ourselves up very well as we think about deploying our technology downstream into this market. Another very large value proposition that we have is the fact that we're going to be able to utilize depleted uranium tails for our process rather than naturally enriched uranium. As a result of us being able to do that, we're going to be able to help assist in the storage and the combustion and or the disposal of these tails. But we're also going to be able to utilize that as feedstock, which will significantly decrease our production profile cost over the next two to 3 years. If you take a look at the graph below, you can see that in the beginning, we anticipate to utilize LEU as a feedstock to produce HALEU. But over time, if we utilize tails more and more, it's going to increase our margins significantly as we look to deploy this technology at scale. When we think about, as a result of thinking about those two specific markets, we've got a lot of things going for us within the next 6 to 12 to 24 months. As I kind of mentioned earlier, we've got a proven and proprietary technology that is at the cusp of developing and validation as a result of us performing on our supply contracts within the next 6 months. And then we also have multiple geopolitical tailwinds that are going to favor rapid expansion for us. Finally, when we think about our operational performance, we've moved in the right direction for the past 2 years. We've completed the construction of our first manufacturing facility here in South Africa, and we look to the future in terms of our expansion moving forward. We expect to enter commercial production within the first 6 months of 2024, and we think that is going to drive significant free cash flow. As a result of the cash flow coming online, as well as our balance sheet strength, we're really excited about moving forward, and we anticipate that we are going to be capable of producing a serious return for our investors downstream in the future. And with that, I would like to open it up to questions.
Great job, Parker. We do have some questions for you. Let's start with Fred. Fred says, when you talk about working with quantum computers, are your customers the end market, the quantum computer companies, chip manufacturers? Can you explain that in more detail?
Yeah, exactly. So we're thinking a little bit upstream in terms of our end markets. When we think about that, we're talking about the people who are utilizing and building out the chips of the future for that reason. So if you think about companies like Global Foundries, TSMC, Intel, those are all potential partners and or customers that would be buying our raw product to produce their own quantum chips that are going to be utilized in stack to produce these computers.
All right. Also, Anthony Fitzgerald wants to know, who is your competition out there?
It is a good question. It's a little bit multi-pronged just because we have so many different end markets that we are servicing. I would say, as of current, if you think about the nuclear medicine end market, it's a very unique one. And what I mean by that is, if you look at where medical isotopes, specifically molybdenum-99, is coming from right now, it's largely coming as a byproduct of nuclear fission off of government-run nuclear reactors that are anticipated to shutter within the next 10 years. So in terms of the production of molybdenum-100, we are currently anticipating that we'll be first to market to be able to offer that. And as a result, we have our only competition sits in the fact that we are producing these these medical isotopes and only competing with the government. When you think about the other end market in terms of green nuclear energy, there is one company out there right now that is attempting to produce HALEU at commercial scale, and that's Centrus. Centrus is looking to produce HALEU at commercial scale in the United States, but that is a project where they have already sunk hundreds of millions of dollars into that project, and they have published that the amount of flow through for that project is going to be eclipsed by initial supply demand that's starting in 2027. So in regards to HALEU, there are very few competitors that we have right now, and the competitors that are currently out there do not have an answer for the demand that is to come.
Melissa wants you to talk a little bit more about HALEU, specifically how are current nuclear reactors currently fueled? And with HALEU, can and will this be used in current and next gen reactors? Plus, is there a market for that with current reactors now?
Right now, current reactors leverage legacy technology in order to do what they do. And when I say legacy technology, the majority, if not all of them, are utilizing low enriched uranium. But as a result, low enriched uranium requires a lot larger footprint. It requires a lot more CapEx deployment, and it is not nearly as as carbon responsible for the environment. There are a lot of tails that come off as a result of the process of legacy reactors. And we think that that's largely as a result of that, there's not been a ton of demand for nuclear and nuclear expansion projects utilizing this legacy technology. As a result, that is why everyone who is focused on the future of nuclear electricity generation is focused on the SMR. And the majority of SMRs are, I would say, yeah, the vast majority of SMRs are utilizing, we anticipate will be utilizing HALEU in the future. So while HALEU definitely can be deployed right now for research purposes, it won't be deployed within the next 3 to 7 years at commercial scale. And it's largely because no one can produce it yet.
And Adam wants to know, where do you see your new facility being built? And is this a new fuel that will be created there? Is it exportable?
No, so the new facility that is being built is going to be built in Iceland. Referencing the slide here, we have already identified a commercial location for our next isotope facility, and that isotope facility is going to be exclusively focused on the medical isotope, on the nuclear medicine and isotopes used for medical purposes. In regards to HALEU, we're currently working on finding a location where we are going to be able to continue our R&D and later ramp up at commercial scale. We have been in active discussions with multiple government bodies over the past 12 to 18 months to figure out where this is going to be most beneficial for us, as well as the country that are housing us. The two options that we're currently thinking of are here in South Africa, as well as in the United Kingdom.
And Pete Marshall asks, what is the timeline of that new cyclotrons in South Africa? Plus, is the debt financing convertible or asset backed?
In regards to cyclotrons, to be honest, I'm actually not sure what we're referencing on that question. I would need more clarity in order to answer it. But the secondary question was on our capital structure in the most recent equity raise. That equity raise was a PIPE placement with no warrants attached. It was straight equity and it was at the market. That was done in late October, right around $1. And we're very excited about that capital raise because the anchor in that funding round was Tees River Critical Resources Fund. And Tees River has deep ties from an investment perspective as well to Rolls-Royce SMR. And so we're very excited to be working with this investment company in the future as they recognize that there's a lot of value proposition in quantum leap energy.
And Howard Beer wants you to explain a little bit more in detail what the end product is in a deliverable state. For example, if you're fulfilling an order from one of your vendors for carbon-14, does it fit in a briefcase, on a pallet, in a drum? If you can explain that a little bit more for Howard.
Yes, absolutely. And that is a good question. And the answer definitely varies based off of the isotope that we are producing. In regards to carbon-14, the end product is it goes onto a target, a solid target that actually is going to be utilized downstream. So I think a really kind of an underlying answer to that question specifically is our tolling agreement that we currently have set up for carbon-14. All of the export and shipping and handling is exclusively handled by our customer, not ourselves. So it is our job to produce the enriched carbon-14, get it on a target for them, and then they handle everything from there. So in terms of export risk and figuring out the logistics on fulfilling the rest of that side of the contract, that falls on the shoulders of our customer, not ourselves.
Parker, any closing remarks for our viewers today?
No, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
This is a fascinating industry you're in. Great presentation, and we look forward to following you along in 2024. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, everyone stay with us. We'll be right back with our next presenter.